Well, now I'm about to wet my pants. Because I have a visual of my father dripping wet, holding a towel, going, why the damn police called my house on Saturday morning about my mother's been dead for 15 years?
Hello everyone.
Hello.
I'm Weronika.
And I'm Waldemar.
And today we're watching Bill Engval, I hope I said that right, and the clip called Pranking My Father.
Yeah.
And it's we are on the role of me, well, on the role of two, which is a very small role, of me finding videos that I have not heard of before, by comedians I have not heard of before.
And we are on this role since we started this channel.
Well, but it's mostly you are on the role, and you're like this giant snowball, and I'm still just this little snowflake.
Yeah, Weronika found out new comedians lately, like Chris Rock, for example.
Yeah, but I was aware he was a comedian. Okay, do you know this guy?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Then where is your high horse? You also
But
didn't
it's
know,
like, there is Chris Rock, and there is Bill something.
Oh, Bill Engval something, I'll have you know, has millions of views on his video, and there's a lot of people reacting to him. So a lot of people know
Yeah,
him.
I'm not saying no. I'm not disrespect to Bill Engval.
I know.
Just Chris Rock is
A tiny bit more famous.
Different league.
Yes. Well, no, I knew Chris Rock was a comedian. I just didn't know that. I just haven't watched anything from him. But we're already a minute and 52 seconds in, and you've been roasting me. So now let's talk about what we are gonna watch.
Yeah,
So
new video. We have not seen it before. I've never heard of this guy.
Yeah, so-
Weronika hasn't heard of him.
nothing else to add, I think.
How did you find him? Recommendations or
Yeah,
just
yeah, I think-
searching
It was a recommendation, yes.
recommendation?
One of the older ones. So sorry that it took me a bit to get to this one, but
Here
yeah.
we are, Eric. You need to be patient with this channel. Subscribe and then, check out every day. Like, not today, but maybe. Like,
Yeah, but
like
since
you can see, like, your time will come.
Your time will come. And since we upload every day, then, statistically it's quite possible.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about, like, subscribers. I'm dividing it through the days of the year.
Play it.
Now, I'll tell you one my dad told me on them. As they got older, Grandma and Grandpa, they couldn't get out of the house much, so Dad put them on this group called Meals on Wheels, which is a wonderful organization that serves meals to senior citizens and the homebound. Well, as Grandma got older, she started visiting people on other planets we didn't know existed. And one day their Meals on Wheels lunches was late, and my grandmother got so mad, she called 911 to complain. Wouldn't you have loved to have heard that phone conversation? 911, what's your emergency? Well, we're about to damn starve to death. That's what the damn emergency is. Ma'am, is there anybody dead there? There's going to be 2 dead people if we don't get some sandwiches real quick. Well, my father told me this story. Well, y'all, I'm a comedian. You cannot hand me a loaded gun like that and not think it's not going to go off at some point. Well, my grandparents passed away about 15 years ago. Well, one morning, a couple of years back, I got up and I called my house. Well, remember, that's one little small town in Texas. And my mom answered the phone. And she goes, hello? And I said, Mrs. Engvall? She said, yes. I said, this is Sergeant Johnson with the Georgetown Police Department. She said, oh, my God, is everything all right? And I said, oh, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Everything is
Did you
fine.
recognize it?
I said, listen, we're just clearing out our books for the end of the year. And we noticed that we had to send out emergency vehicles out to your mother-in-law's house because she called 911 about their Meals on Wheels lunches being late. And my mother goes, you need to speak to my husband.
Sounds like the right choice.
I mean, she threw him right under the bus. There was no, we're sorry, we'll make it okay. It's his mama, deal with him. And I said, well, is he home? And she said, well, yes, officer, he is, but he's in the shower. And I said, well, ma'am, if you could get him, that'd be great. And she goes, well, all right. And she sets the phone down. Well, when folks set the phone down, you can still hear the conversation. And I hear my mother go, Bill, it's the police. They want to talk to you about your mother. And I hear my father yell from the shower, my mother's dead. And my sweet little mother, who never raised her voice, went, I know that, get on the phone. Well, now I'm about to wet my pants. Because I have a visual of my father dripping wet, holding a towel, going, why the damn police called my house on Saturday morning about my mother's been dead for 15 years. But my friends, he got on that phone and he was nice as pie. He goes, hello? And I'm trying to keep it together. And I said,
But how can they not recognize
Yeah, that's
him?
what I asked. It's ruining the immersion for me. I think maybe because he cannot make voices, but a comedian who could make voices, it would be nice if
Maybe
he
he
could change
can.
his
Maybe
voice.
he's just.
No, like here, like even for telling the story, right? I think that would make it work a little bit better, because otherwise you're like, how are they not?
Maybe he was having like this small, ventilator. In the,
Maybe.
Hello.
Or he was speaking like Dexter.
Mr. Engvall? He said, yes. I said, this is Sergeant Johnson with the Georgetown Police Department. He goes, well, how are you today, officer? I said, well, I'm doing fine. Thank you for asking. He said, what can I do for you today? I said, well, sir, I hate to bother you and your family on this beautiful Saturday. I said, but we're just clearing out our books for the end of the year, and we noticed we had to send emergency vehicles out to your mother's house because she called 911 about their Meals on Wheels lunches being late. And he goes, officer, that woman was crazy. This is Mom he's talking about. And I said, well, sir, that may well be, but that's not our department. I said, listen, we just got the issue of a little bit of a fine, and then we'll get out of your hair. He said, well, what's the fine for? And I said, well, sir, we had to send a fire truck and an ambulance out there because we thought something was wrong. He said, oh, yeah, I get that. He said, how much is the fine? I said, well, that depends. He said, on what? And I said, sir, do you remember what they had for lunch that day? And there was a pause. So I figure he's on to me. He's going to go, Bill, shut up. And he goes, I'm sorry? I said, well, whatever they had for lunch that day will determine on how big or little the fine is. And he said, well, I've never heard of that. And I said, well, it's something new we're trying. He said, well, how does it work? And I said, well, funny you should ask.
But it's funny that that's how it is often. I don't know if you ever pranked someone over the phone or in any other similar way, but when they when they took a bite,
Yeah.
then you can like do different things. You can tell them different things, but if they already on the hook, then they will go on your way.
Yeah, I sold my friend's mother's friend.
What?
Well, a friend of my mother's friend. My
Yeah.
friend's mother. Yeah, well, whatever. I was with my friend. The friend had a mother. The mother had a friend. We called her, and I sold her some forks. she paid a lot for the forks. I mean, we didn't actually get the money, but yeah.
You never told me this story.
I know I told you this story. No, we pranked her and we said that like she ordered some forks, and we were like, it wasn't very especially funny, but the funny part was that she believed it, and she said that she would like to buy them since she already purchased them. So yeah, I got told off a little bit, but not by my mother. I think my mother never found out about it, but by the mother of my friend. But then I remember I said to her that, well, it's I'm sorry for making the joke, but I think it was a good lesson for her. She needs to get some life skills because someone could have very easily taken money from her.
I said, all right, sir, let's say they had a bowl of soup for lunch. Well, that fine's only like $10. But if they had like a meatloaf sandwich, sir, you ever done this? Your wife cooks you meatloaf on a Monday night. Well, then that next day you cut you a cold slab of meatloaf with mustard, mayonnaise, pickles, lettuce, onions. He goes, oh, I love them sandwiches. I said, well, that's going to be a little more money. Can you understand that? And he goes, yeah, that makes sense. Really? And this is an educated man. He's not some rube from the sticks. So I said, so if you could think what they had for lunch that day, we'll get this whole mess cleared up and you can go on with your weekend. He goes, boy, I'm just trying to think, officer. He goes, I don't remember what they had for lunch that day. I said, well, maybe your wife knows. And he goes, hey, good idea. He goes, hey, Mary, what did they have for lunch that day? She goes, hell, I don't know. That was 15 years ago.
You remember it.
He said, officer, we can't
remember.
remember what they had for lunch that day. That was just too far back. I said, boy, we really want to get this cleared up, sir. I said, just think really hard. I mean, did they have a salad? Because, well, then that's only like $15. But if they had like a turkey sandwich. Now, sir, you ever done this? Your wife cooks you Thanksgiving dinner. Well, then that next day you take some of that turkey with some dressing and cranberry sauce. He goes, oh, hell, that's my favorite sandwich of all. I said, well, that's going to be a hell of a lot more money. He goes, I bet it is. And I'm not even disguising my voice.
Okay, so
This is his only son speaking to him. So I said, so just, sir, think really hard, man. What was it they had for lunch that day? And we'll get this whole thing cleared up and you can go on with your weekend. He goes, officer, he goes, look, I'm going to tell you right now. He goes, I can't remember what they had for lunch that day. That's just too far back. He goes, let me do this. He said, why don't I pay the larger the amounts of fine, and that'll cover everything. And I said, sir, I wish we had more folks like you in the world. But you can see how that screw up our books, right? And he goes, oh, hell yeah, I guess it would, wouldn't it? Yeah. I finally went, Dad, it's me. And he went, go to hell.
Well, I find it believable
Yeah,
that his father would not recognize his voice. I don't find it believable that his mother wouldn't.
Yeah.
But with fathers, it's like, you know, how they ask you, like, how old is your child? And you're like,
And especially it was in
5,
the morning, you know,
8 maybe.
he was taking a shower, like
yeah.
before the coffee, he
Yeah.
was, after 5 days of work, he was like not thinking clearly. But yeah, I found this story totally believable and true because it was very realistic.
Yeah, he didn't overdo
Yeah, you
anything.
didn't find one moment when he like colored it a little
Mm.
bit to make it more funny or something, like to add some plot twist. All the things he was saying, like all the jokes he made was about the sandwiches. That's it. It's a weird style of comedy. I wonder if that's like all that he does. This style, like telling some stories from his life, or
No idea, but there was another suggestion that popped out, and it was like I got kicked out of church or something. So which also suggests that it was a story from his life.
yeah.
So maybe there is a lot of like that. Well, you're lucky if you have a life. That's funny enough to.
But it didn't felt like it. It felt like you know you take a normal thing, but you have the ability to make a story out of
Very
it.
funny, yeah.
But it's not like the greatest prank over the phone.
Yeah, of course
Of
it's
all
not,
time. It's like, yeah, I called my parents and I told them that I'm a police officer. Like, ha ha ha. But it's like it was enjoyable,
It was enjoyable, yeah.
but not very like.
Yeah, it wasn't
hilarious.
hilarious, but it was enjoyable, yeah. And I think especially the imagery that he drew, like I could really, when he was speaking, I could see his father in that in that towel, and you know, like trying to be polite to the officer, even though he's fuming on the inside, and then him eating his sandwiches with turkey. You could imagine all of that.
I wonder if his father was watching this and like fuming, you know, like that little bastard.
Making fun of me in front of so many people.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. It was a nice video. Like, if you have any recommendations about this guy, something that you found funny, then leave them in the comment section.
Please.
For me, like, I rate him like on the medium scale.
I would say like 5.5 out of 10.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't like very funny. It was just a.
But it
yeah.
was not sometimes when we take this
I
risk.
wouldn't recommend it to someone. Like, I wouldn't.
Oh, yeah, you must
call
absolutely
my
watch
mother.
it,
Like,
yeah.
you need to watch this.
Yeah,
It's hilarious.
No, but for how much content we watch, and especially the riskier things that we check out that we've never seen before or heard of the person before, it was okay. The ones that really didn't work out, you will not know about because you won't see them. I think we had like 2 comedians like that we were like, no, we're just not gonna upload it.
Yeah, but I was.
And you can
fuming,
wonder
like,
who that was, but yeah, you will not know.
Do you remember who that was?
Yeah, I remember.
You can take your guess.
It's you can guess. Yeah, that'll be. I'm not sure we're gonna tell you if you got guessed correct.
If someone guesses both of them, then we can think of some reward for you.
Yeah, one of them was a popular guy, like very quite popular. I see a lot of channels reacting to. Like, and I already said one was a guy, so you can.
And the other was
Also a guy, right?
less popular.
Less popular. Okay.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
And goodbye.